Coach Lennon.
All right, let's get started and welcome beginning of the 2013 season. And it's definitely exciting to be a part of game week. We've just wrapped up our pre-fall camp, and overall I've been very pleased with what I saw during pre-fall. And now it's a matter of making that transition into the game week, getting game ready, and pretty much getting all the facets of the game of football ready to go. So our practice schedule this week, we will practice today. Normally Mondays are off day, but because of the nature of going into the first game, we decided to take Sunday off and practice Monday. So we'll be in the stadium today, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll be on the grass fields, and then we'll be back in the stadium on Thursday. So that'll be our schedule. And right now the times are scheduled to be normal. If for some reason the heat got to be a concern, we would probably do something with an evening practice. But right now that's just a thought. Not much consideration has been given to that. Talking about the team, overall our team status health-wise is good. Coming out of pre-fall camp, that's always a concern. You want to get to the game with all of your horses, and for the most part, we're there. We got a couple injuries that are on the mend that we're hoping can come back, but overall, the overall strength of the team is pretty good. Just going through the team and how we stack up, going through our offensive line to begin with. Our starting lineup would be Worth, Haremza, Crum, Notarial, and Craven. And that's from left to right as you go through. And now Worth is nursing an injury, so we're going to monitor him during the course of the week to see what he's capable of doing. And for some reason that he could not go, Brian Bomer would be in at the left tackle position. Just a couple of the names that have had good camps. Jamarcus Robinson has done a good job playing the guard positions. He could play left or right guard. Adam Clay has done a good job playing at the tackle position, so he gives us a little depth on that end. Because Jonna Evans is a true freshman that will be traveling, and there's a possibility that he could see some playing time. That's a decision that's still being considered. And Jerian Moreland is a transfer that's in. Right now we're going through some of the eligibility paperwork that we still need to clear, so his availability will be questionable for this first game coming up, which isn't all bad. Jerian still needs to physically get in game shape, plus get more comfortable with the offensive schemes. So that's our offensive line. Our tight end position is a very good complement to the O-line. And you look at Pruitt, Michael Pruitt and Adam Feeney, both had very productive camps. They're going to be a big part of our offense, and those guys are playing good football right now. Plus we have Dalton Morgan is healthy from last year. The mysterious illness hasn't reoccurred, so we're grateful for that. And then Josh Scadlin is another one that currently nursing an ankle sprain, but we think he'll go today. And another talented tight end that could be in some of our packages. Wide receiver wise, I've been happy with our receiving core. The three main receivers will be John Lance, LaSteven McKinney, and Tay Willis. Now, Tay will wear a couple different hats within the offense. He'll also can be a running back and will take some snaps at the tailback position, but he's also a pretty talented receiver out wide that gives us some speed threat on the perimeter. Our running back situation, you got Mikael McCall, you got Ken Malcolm, and you got Malcolm Agnew. Right now, they're all on the same level. They're in that oar, so I don't know which one's going to take the first snap. I told Coach DeBoer this morning that we're going to get into a formation where all three take the field at the same time, and then we won't have that problem who's your starting tailback. But they've done a good job. I like what I'm seeing in practice, and they're going to be a good complement to each other during the course of the season. And then the quarterback situation, Corey Faulkner is our #1 quarterback. He'll be backed up by Ryan West, and then you got A.J. Hill and Matt Vincent pulling up the 3 and 4 spot. Again, they're probably at the same level. A.J. has the experience. That's something that is going to be very important too for us. If we need to call on A.J., we know we can call on him at any point in time. But Ryan West has looked very good during camp, and you can see the progression in his game. So right now he's at the #2 spot. And then Corey has, I thought, had a very strong fall camp. He's taken over a leadership role. He's a team captain, and that's exactly what you want from your quarterback position, and that was voted on by his team. Moving over to the defensive side, this is an area where I get asked about quite a bit about all of our significant losses to graduation. And to be honest with you, I don't look at it that way at all. I was looking through the stats from the game notes, and I think we have like 15 or 16 players returning that played in every single game last year. So the way we play on defense, we've got players coming in and out at all times, so our returning game experience is very high. Our defensive line would start off with Solomon, Beelan, and Brandt. And again, that might change by the time we get to Saturday, because the backups are pretty good too. Rayshawn Golden, who's a new transfer coming in at the nose spot, he's had a great camp. Our confidence in him is very high. Brandon Williams is another player that has a lot of talent, played a lot of football, made big plays for us last year. And then Calvin Belts is another one that is being more noticed, definitely in knocking passes down. The 3-step type pass, he's pretty good at that. Blake Miller, we'll see what his availability is during the course of the week. Again, he's coming off of an ankle sprain, and if he can go, we will play him. We're taking him with, but we'll just want to make sure that we don't push him in too soon. Our outside linebackers, the depth there too is very good. Tyler Williamson and Corey Lee at the #1 spot. 2 freshmen, redshirt freshmen, really are looking good. Leonard Guerin and Chase Allen are their backups. They're very athletic, good speed, make a lot of plays. And then with the addition of Lamonte Edwards, Lamonte definitely has shown us that he has some special abilities, and we'll be incorporating him, increasing his role as the season progresses. At the inside linebacker spot, they got Brian Presume and Jordan Poole at the #1 spot, and then Talon Hunter and Carl Bivens. Talon's coming off of we're getting the cast off now. He might have a soft cast that he plays with, but he should be cleared to go. And Carl Bivens is another one of those talented redshirt freshmen that is going to be a pretty special player. So he's made a significant impact here during pre-fall. And then our 3s behind them are talented also, where you got Victor Burnett and Dennis Harding have both had good fall camps for us, so we feel good about that depth there. Our safety situation, strong safety. Now we moved DJ Cameron from free to strong. We feel good about that move, and his backup will be Luke Thuston, who's a veteran in the secondary, kind of our quarterback back there, but those two are a good 1-2 combo. And then at the free safety position, then we got Boo Rogers, who sat out last year, so actually he's a returning starter from 2 years ago. That will be back. He'll get the starting spot. And then Anthony Thompson, who had a very solid year last year for us, made some big plays, will be his backup. Corners, Terrell Wilson returns for his 4th year of our starting corner. And then Courtney Richmond will be the other corner. And Courtney really had a strong fall camp, made some plays. I like where he's at with his game. And then our backup us at the corners are Chris Davis, who would probably be the first one in for either one of those. And then you look at Keith Suggs and Brandon Willingham. Both are 2 pretty talented corners, so overall depth is strong in the secondary. And then with the special teams, our kicker will be Thomas Kinney. Thomas transferred in from Winona, where he was a 2-year starter there, sat out last year due to transfer rules, and he has earned the kicking position. He'll just do field goals. We'll go Chris Adams with their kickoff, although Thomas would be available also for the kickoffs. And then our punter, Austin Puchalowski, he really increased his leg strength over the off season, and I think he could have a chance as an all-conference type punter within our league, and Austin's looking very strong there. Our punt returner will be Stephen McKinney. This will be his third year of returning punts for us in our kickoff return combo, where we got a number of people that could be in that role, but to start off, we'll go with Tay Willis, and with Stephen McKinney will be our kick return combo. So that's a look at us, and then just looking ahead now, all of our preparation is going into University of Illinois, preparation for them. Offensively, as we prepare for them, that's probably where we've seen the biggest change from a year ago to this year. They brought a new offensive coordinator in, Coach Bill Cubitt, who was at Western Michigan, and runs more of a high-tempo type offense. Definitely wants to get a good number of plays coming at you. So we've been preparing for that during pre-fall camp. You look at their skill level on the offensive side, I think is pretty impressive. They got a quarterback that when we played them in 2010, he was just having a second start of his career. Now we're getting him on the senior end with Nathan Schillhouse, and it's been kind of fun to watch his progression, and I think he's set for a good senior year. Their running backs, they got two very talented running backs in Young and Ferguson. I think that their run game will be improved over last year, and then their receiving core, they have some good experience coming back there. Langford is their returning leading receiver. So I think the combination with the new offensive schemes has fit in pretty well. Plus, they got three tight ends that in their program that could all be starters too. They got them listed in the or category. So, what we got to be ready for is anywhere from spread offense to 22 personnel, which is two tights, two backs in the backfield, and so it definitely will be challenging to our defensive side. Defensively, they run a 4-2 scheme. They like to bring a lot of pressure, and that would be something that we would expect to see, especially early on, just seeing how we pick that up. And if you look at, they're fairly young, their experience factor, they only have two seniors listed on their starting depth chart. A lot of good young players that are coming up that I think got some pretty good careers in front of them. On the defensive line, they're fairly new there. They got one senior returning in Kennard, who's we got to watch him play last year. He played a lot of football for them, made some plays. Their linebacking core is led by Mason Monheim, who he's probably the rising star, I think, on the defense, on their defensive side of the ball. And then in the secondary, Ernest Thomas is the quarterback of the defense, kind of getting everything locked in and checked in. So again, they got a good combination. They got enough experience back where I think that'll help carry them, and they definitely got some talent where they can run around and make plays. So we got to be ready for that speed factor when we go up against them. And then their special teams, their kicker, Zaleski is a very strong leg, kicked a lot of balls that were non-returnable last year, so this might be something with our kick return game. We might not even get an opportunity to return a kick. He does have that long distance field goal capacity. Their punter is pretty good returning, had a decent average. He was over the 40-yard mark net, which is a pretty good indicator with their punt team. They did have some issues on their punt return, had a few fumbles that turned over, were constantly turnovers for them. Their kick return game was very impressive. About every game they had at least one long kick return. So overall, I've been impressed watching them. I know they've been working hard in the off season like us to take a step forward. I think this game is pretty significant as far as how they're approaching it. It's definitely very significant how we're approaching it. Keys to the game, I think, are like any first game, number one, we need to avoid those first game mistakes. And so you got to show up, you got to play the game like it's not your first game. You got to do the little things right. That'll be an emphasis for us on the course of the week, and that's what we've been preaching all pre-fall long with our players. The other thing that we got to be able to do, we got to play our type of game. We got to do what we like to do offensively. We got to play our type of defense as far as getting after it, making some plays, get some pressure, and then our special teams have to be a factor. That's kind of been our trademark since I've been here. We've made a lot of big plays on special teams, and that's something that will need to continue. So as I see it, those are kind of how things break down and what we need to prepare for this week. So questions?
How do you use the experience of playing there 3 years ago to your benefit this time around?
Well, it will be a benefit. I think every game you coach, you definitely take away from it. Now, some of our players were there. They can draw from that experience. Majority of them weren't. I think the thing that I learned is that I tried to push things probably more than what I should have. We were in the red zone 4 times in that game, and we only came away with 3 points. Went for it twice on 4th down. Also did an early field goal attempt from 56 yards. Again, just looking for that big play. Now we had a kicker that could make it, but the way I'm approaching it, we got to have the same mentality as we do when we go play Northern Iowa and when we go play South Dakota State. It's a road game. We're playing a very good football team, but that's where we got to play our game and not get caught up in any other sideshow.
So will you take a more conservative approach early to your game plan?
Well, again, look back at our games, I don't always play conservative. I mean, there's times where we go for it on 4th down. There's times where, you feel the flow of the game, but I'm not going to try to force something that's not there. And I really did feel after the game last year, I was trying to force the issue much harder than what I needed to. And my job is to make sure our guys have a chance, and that's why you gotta make sure you do calculated gambles from time to time.
Coach, you prepared for 2 quarterbacks. Do you think you're going to see Aaron Bailey, and have you researched anything about him?
Well, yeah, we'll prepare. I mean, you always get ready for both concepts, and in fact, with their offensive scheme, I think you make special accommodations to prepare for Shieldhouse, just because he's more of the run threat, just because very athletic, zone read concepts, quarterback, shotgun runs will be a part of his game. And then when the other 2 quarterbacks that, either one could get in, I don't know exactly who their 1 and 2 is. I know they're pretty high on Bailey also, but you're just aware of who's in at the time, but for the most part, you got to prepare for the whole gamut.
Edwards, is he more? Is there a difference between the left and right outside linebacker?
No,
would he be more fit for one or the other?
We don't play left-right, so I mean there's strong and a weak concept, because there's different skills with each of those.
So he would be what?
He's more of the weak edge type rusher,
okay.
Very similar to what we did with DeMonch. So it's those are the talents that we want to try to bring in. And early on too, his knowledge of the defense is very limited. So it's one of those where we're not going to ask him to do more than what he's ready to do.
Well, when you go to 2 tight end situations, do you take out any specific? You have 3 wide receivers. Is there one of those, the slot, the X and Y? Is there any one of those that you take out, or does it matter?
Well, they know all the positions, but kind of depends on what we're looking at doing, and not to give any secrets away. But you have receivers that are very good at blocking. You got receivers that are good speed type guys. I mean, it kind of fits you keep the receiver in, that'll fit the design of the play.
Do you have anything planned out as far as how you're going to use your running backs, or just kind of go with the flow?
Well, we're going to use them all. You got to use them all. You know, and that's what we're working on right now is just the game plan. And, you know, that's one thing with game plans. They usually change within the first 30 seconds of the game. I mean, it's one of those where as soon as you're in battle, you're trying to figure out what's working, what's not working. You got to have other options that you can go to. You know, for us, establishing the run will be important, but you know, there's several different ways that you can establish the run. So therefore, you know, we got to be aware of what those options are, and so it's you just try to have options available when you go into a game, and then you just react from there. It's going to be a hot day, so naturally there too, you know, just spelling them where you may get one back a couple series and then another back a couple series, and you got to work that combination is also a possibility. Plus this the rotation in and out, where some guys do things a little better than other guys. You know, that could be a situation where a certain play is called, we might have a certain back end.
What's the challenge of not only preparing for a first game, but you know, preparing for a first-year coordinator? I mean, obviously, and how much have you relied on film from Western Michigan when Cubitt was there?
Well, that's all you have to go on is what he had done at Western Michigan. So you know, that's what you try to evaluate and analyze. So there's always some guessing that goes in, but he was hired to run his offense. You know, so that's the one thing where you take that into consideration. Now it's a completely different set of players that he's coaching, so you know, that's where we'll have to adapt as the game progresses.
Coach, kind of feeding off of that, you talked about really like to run a lot of plays. How do you use your team to kind of control the tempo and run it more in your favor?
Well, we want to be very deliberate in what we do. Again, we don't want to get caught up in their game. Now, if we want a high tempo, then we'll go high tempo. If we want to take our time running the ball, we're going to take our time. Or work in the passing game. If we want to take our shots downfield, you know, so that's where we want to be able to make sure we don't lose control of the game into the fact where we got to play their game. And that's just any game that you're in. There's, you know, who's controlling the tempo. That's a common phrase used by coaches. And usually if you're controlling the tempo, that means that you're running the type of game that you want to run.
How do you take advantage of their inexperience on defense? You mentioned they only returned one starter on the defensive line, and I believe they only returned one starter in their secondary too.
Yep. You know, again, we'll do what we need to do. We know they're very talented, but there's times where we'll take some shots here and there and make sure that they're not over aggressive on the run, or if they're overplaying the run. Well, then we got to have some play action to counter. We got to make sure that they're not jumping routes more aggressively than what they should be. If they're doing that, then actually you got plays to counter that. You know, so if we're seeing that they're giving us something, we got to be able to take advantage of that.
You know, this game obviously counts the same, you know, as any other game, but do you get a sense from your players that it means more to them because you're playing an FBS team and because, you know, it's a team from the state of Illinois?
Well, where it means a lot is every player on the team had aspirations of playing 1A football, and you know, that was their dream and their hope. Some of them did, and weren't allowed to pursue it. So you know, there's that element, but that's something that we can't dwell upon. I don't think you even use it as motivation to a high level. You use it a little bit, but you know, you got to have that common cause where we're going there together. We find a way to win this ball game, and you know, hopefully we got enough tools in the box that will allow us to do that, and that's what the team has to realize too, is that we got to work on this together to allow ourselves to have a chance of success.
Do you feel like your new quarterbacks know the defense well enough that you'll be, you know, prepared for this type of offense that you'll see maybe like Eastern's, how they try to run a play every couple seconds? If he does
you
that.
You lost me there in your question.
You know, last year you had a bunch of new players when you played Eastern.
Oh, you said corner, I think you said quarterbacks.
Cornerbacks. Yeah, you have like 6 or 7 new ones this year.
We do?
Cornerbacks? Yeah.
Well, no, we got Richmond and you got Terrell. They're both all experienced. You got all 4 safeties returned. I mean, we're pretty experienced in the. Now, are you ever going to see all the new guys out there at once? No. So, I mean, it'll be a substitution. It'll come in and out, and we'll see how the flow of the game is going. But for the most part, you're probably going to have, you know, of the 4 secondary players out there, you know, maybe one might be new to the system. So it's, you know, that's where you hope that the experience factor can be a benefit, because overall, our secondary is pretty experienced.
But as far as your new cornerbacks, like Chris Davis,
That's what I'm saying,
went
is
through
that- spring
spring ball for you. Does he know the offense as well, or the defense as well as you would hoped he would at this point?
But at the corner spot too, that's, again, not to belittle corners, that there's not a whole lot of learning that you need to do. I mean, the thing you gotta be is smart. You can't get baited in. That we did have that problem against Eastern Illinois. We gave up the double pass, you know, twice, you know, which, you know, something that doesn't sit very well. You know, you do got to be disciplined in your reads and your keys, but corners, they're just more of the perimeter type players, and it's really your safeties. Usually when you do play action schemes to try to get defenses to bite, a lot of times you're focusing on the safeties to be overly aggressive on the run, where your corners normally don't have to be as aggressive on the run.
Besides having sets where you run 2 tight ends, would one way to keep a double team off of Michael would it line him up as a H-back sometime? Will we do that?
Well, he'll be all over the field. He not only will be at the tight end spot, he'll be at the fullback spot, he'll be at a wideout spot. So not just at the H spot, but also.
Do you expect him to be double teamed a lot?
I don't know. I be honest with you, if they do, then something else should be open.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, you know, Mike Cole is very good. We'd like to, you know, get him the ball, but at the same time, teams are going to design defenses specifically to stop him. Well, then there better be somebody else stepping up.
Do you like opening with this type of game? You know, you can't really ease into the season. It's just like you gotta, you know, put your best stuff out there right away.
Well, it forces you to try to be at a high level right out of the gate, which I know in 2010 we opened up with Quincy, which that didn't force us to be at a high level right out of the gate. So we know the challenge is high, the odds are against us. We got to play, you know, a pretty darn good game to have a chance to win. But again, I go back to, it's no different than us going up to Northern Iowa or South Dakota State or North Dakota State winning at their place. We got to play a good game to win there. So that's what we're being forced to do.
What's it mean to you to be part of the 100 years of Saluki football?
Well, I think it's, number one, it's an honor. Number two, you know, that's the last 5 years I've been hearing about all these legends that played and the stories that go with them, and you know, now to have an opportunity to meet most of them, I think is going to be pretty special. It's also special that opportunity to coach a lot of the guys that are in that 100-year squad too. So I just think it's a celebration of Saluki football. It's something that also shows our team that they're part of something bigger than now. It's they're part of something that was put in place a long time ago, and it has been growing and growing, and it's our responsibility as the now generation to, you know, take that next step into the future. So you know, there's a lot of positives with this being a 100-year celebration.
What is it about somebody like Courtney Richmond, who was a backup for a few years and he played a lot, but what did he do in the spring and in the fall to win this spot? I mean, is he just better at doing what he's supposed to be doing, or is he, you know, I mean, how do you determine that he's going to be number one?
Well, Courtney's progression,
Oh, I'm sorry, Courtney.
yeah, is what you want with most of your any incoming player. I mean, that's exactly what you want, where you learn the game. You know, number one, you're a redshirt, you sit and observe. Number two, you're traveling, you're doing everything, you're learning it. Then your sophomore year, you're getting out there, you're playing, you get some, you know, great experience. And then by the time you're a junior, that's when hopefully you've acquired all the skills and the talents to allow you to be a very good corner. And that's exactly what Courtney has followed, that progression. So, and it's just a steady improvement level. You know, I always refer to being a process, and that's what it's been for Courtney. And right now, our confidence in Courtney is pretty high.
How do you time the pass rush with Shieldhouse, a running quarterback that will run out of a lot of different formations?
Again, what are you looking for?
How do you judge when you're going to blitz him? How are you going to rush him, Dale?
Well, it's, again, our schemes, so all of our zone blitzes, Coach Schweiger has this whole packet of zone blitzes. Some are very good against the run, some are very good against the pass, some are good against the quarterback draw. You know, it's all schematic. That's why it's your ultimate chess game. And you want to try to call the right call when they got the wrong call on, but you know, that's part of the game. There'll be times where you don't have success defensively, and it's purely because you had the wrong call on. It's not because your players are getting beat. You just don't have them quite in the right position to make the play, and therefore the other team had taken advantage of it. So, we've seen a lot of running quarterbacks, a lot of option football over the course of the years. You know, so this is something we're actually pretty comfortable defending.
Would you go back now? I'm glad you mentioned that. Northern Iowa had a good one a couple of years ago when we beat them here. Would you go back and look at film of guys like that you played against and actually put something from that into your scheme?
Well, yeah, you don't necessarily have to go look at the film, but we've been running this 3-4 since 1991. Yeah. I mean, this is a defensive package we're very comfortable with, we're very confident in. When we talk about it, there's times when we refer back what we need to do, what we did against you and I back so-and-so, or, you know, what about this when we did this to so-and-so. You know, that's the advantage of having experienced coaches, is that's where you use that experience, is you've seen similar looks, and you know, that's where you draw from that experience. So, yeah, there's, again, a learning curve that occurs with every game you play. You learn from mistakes and you learn from successes.
Coach, can you talk about Boo Rogers for a minute? You know, he missed last year. Did you see him mature in some ways, or do you think that year was good for him?
Well, I think the year was a learning experience for him. Anytime you go through a disciplinary process, it's not fun. But he took it like a man and did what he needed to do to even be given a chance to come back. And now he still knows that he has something to prove here, and you know, the comeback isn't completed yet, it's just starting. So that's where I'm hoping that the lessons learned will translate into a better player on the field also.
Do you feel like he's earned the respect back of his teammates?
I think, again, it's a process where he's earning the respect back of the team, and you know, the games, that's where everything happens. You know, we talk about team building and trying to get your team ready for that first game, but it's in that game where the true team building occurs and your true identity comes out, and so that's why that first game of the year is always a little iffy. You're not quite sure what to think, and you're hoping that you prepared your guys well enough to handle it, and that's why you need to play that first game, just to see where you're at.
How much, you know, of a factor was Marty being here? He's obviously not here this year, but last year in Boo's maturation and going through all that.
Well, Marty was a big factor. In fact, that was my advice to Marty: is you got to be the big brother now. I mean, you got to steer him in the right direction. He's going to trust you. You know, go be a big brother, and that's pretty much what Marty did. And Marty was very influential in Boo's life, so always has been.
Physically and football-wise, how has Boo developed? Is he stronger now than he was 2 years ago? Is he just more knowledgeable?
And again, that is yet to be determined. You know, we got to see how he plays. We got to see, is there that more refined safety out there? You know, I think sitting a year has been good. He's kind of seen a different side of the game. He is more mature than he was 2 years ago. But is he going to be a better football player? We'll see.
Did he practice with you some last year?
He was on the scout team all last year.
Okay. And now, what, Coach, you added Lamonte Edwards a little late. What? Any chance he plays this weekend, or has he been able to practice with you a little bit?
He'll be on the field. Again, it'll be a limited role, so.
You do expect him to play?
Yeah.
Okay.
But not Jerry Moreland. Will he travel?
Jarian right now is a no.
Yeah. So he won't
For
travel
this week.
He won't travel with the squad.
Might take him with, just to
Okay.
give him the experience.
Is Malcolm Agnew, is he back to 100%?
Yeah, I would probably say 100, but maybe 95. You know, he should be able to practice today.
Do you expect Blake Miller and Ethan Worth to practice today?
That's up to our trainer. So I'd say no with Blake and probably no with Ethan here. Because today's not a major. Today's more of an intro type practice where we're just, you know, the challenge of today might be the biggest challenge of the entire week, which is going to be getting that scout team lined up correctly and executing the, you know, the Illinois offense and defense and getting the right tempo where we actually get some benefit from it. And, you know, that's probably as frustrating as anything in coaching is the first time you go to scouts.
You mentioned Kenny would do the field goals. You know, you feel comfortable with him any distance?
Well,
As far as
reason.
you don't feel Austin would do a shorter one?
Could say that. I mean, if there was a situation where it's 52 yards to win a ball game, I know the ball's going to get there, you know. So, you know, that part of it, his leg strength is pretty good. All right, thank you.
Thanks.